hate on that goal. I think it's fine. But just know that in clothes, generally, it's harder to look like you lift.
Mm-hmm. I still don't think that you would have women, like when you're in your 30s, it's not like women are going to be like, man, that guy at 200 is much more desirable than the same guy at 180 or something like that. Like, I think it just like, it really has no impact as you get older. It's so much more about like what's going on up here and other factors.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. So I think, it's sometimes I forget, Bryan, like how much we say on DMs versus what we talked about like on podcasts and whatnot. But obviously a big topic now, and I had Milo Wolf on, was these lengthened sets, right? I know you talked a lot about it. I have been incorporating it more for my back work recently, and it's amazing how much my back has blown up. Just kidding. Now, obviously, I wouldn't notice it in that in that time frame. But no, I was telling Aaron how I'm doing those low rows I've shown you videos of, and consistently it feels like, because I'm used to such a big range of motion there, that I feel like I'm doing so little, but I'm still bringing my arm pretty much right in line with my body, and I've gone a lot heavier, and it does feel good. And whether or not it's doing anything, I think if it's something that feels good and adds variety, why not try it? But what is your experience with it so far? Because you've been experimenting with it a little longer.
Yeah, I've been doing it for quite a long time now. I want to say a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years in some capacity, because we had Helms on my podcast like 15 months ago, and we were grilling him on some of the lengthened stuff. And he used, at the time, he was kind of indifferent or non-committal, and he used the RIR non-failure research to basically be like, yeah, I don't think it matters, because look, you can get gains at 5, 6, 7 RIR. So does it matter if the lengthened portion of your cable row is closer to failure than it usually would be if you were just taking the short position to failure? Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah.
So I've kind of taken it to an extreme. I like to kind of push the envelope when I get excited about something, and it's easy to be a bit nihilistic as well and be like, I'm 25 years in, like, is anything really going to matter at all? So the way I kind of look at it is like, hey, worst case scenario, I'm not going to make gains, but I'm not going to like move backwards by doing this. So I've taken the experiments pretty far at this point, and I generally will progress into these lengthened only sets over the course of a mesocycle. So like right now I'm in week 4 or 5 of my block. And so almost every short overload movement I do has one full range of motion set and then like a normal rest period. And then I'll throw 30% more weight on than whatever I used for the full range of motion set. And I will do that set to a similar number of reps that I got on the first set. So if I got like 8 to 12, call it cable rows, 8 to 12 cable rows, full range of motion, I'll throw 30% more on. That usually takes me from something like 180 to 240 or something like that. And then I'll use 240 and do 8 to 12 reps, where I might get 1 or 2 like full reps, and then that range of motion will gradually fall off from there. And I've just truly been enjoying it. Like I love the way that training that way keeps you from compensating to get short, because that's what always happens to us as we're training any of these like super short overloaded movements, is there's like these mini compensations that occur because it's a lateral raise and you want to get the arm all the way up. There's a teeny bit of torso movement, or your cable raise, or your cable row, you're moving your torso a little bit more. You're kind of doing one of those like head forward things that people do to get short at the end. And if you just kind of accept that it's okay that you're not getting full range of motion, then you can stay much more in the target muscle as you're going through these kind of like micro reps or partial reps or whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. So that's really right now, like every short movement I do is at that point of the progression. So it's been kind of cool to just do this different approach to training, and it's unique. And I think that it's just cool to be able to talk about it with people and experience it and kind of discuss something that isn't super common.
Are you doing it at all, Aaron?
Yeah. So I have my, when I came back to the States, obviously I changed gym. So I wrote a brand new training program for that. And I'm following Bryan's like proposed progression model that you put up an Instagram post a few weeks back, Bryan, for any of the listeners to go take a look at. it's quite clever. I was, you know, I'm often impressed with Bryan, but this is one of the ones where I was like reading through it. I'm like, this is really, really good. So I am using that. The one thing that's a little bit different is I like to run my training programs like longer than a lot of people traditionally. Like personally, I'm not running a training program for less than 8 weeks, but
Mhm.
12 to 14, 15 is probably like more common for me. So I modified a few things based on how I know myself until adding in the lengthened partials and stuff. But I'm super excited about it.
Yeah. I guess that actually discussing your programming, Bryan, we talked about experiments a little bit, and I also want to discuss the idea of just kind of doing what we want in the gym.
Mhm.
But first, maybe discuss the experiment that I've played a part in convincing you to try with your arm training.
Yeah. Your unilateral calf experiment that I know you've talked about in depth on your podcast and others. Very interesting that you go 2 years and see no difference by training one calf and the other. And then in my situation, 25 years into training, I literally don't think there's been a single day of my 25 years that I haven't been unimpressed with my left arm compared to
Hmm.
my right. And this is literally from like 15-year-old Bryan, like starting to work out and like flexing in the mirror and being like, man, my left arm sucks. What's up with that? You know? So for the next 6 months, I basically committed to any direct isolation work for arms to just be with my left arm, and still doing all like the chest, shoulder, and back work, using both arms. But I have at this point, my microcycles are 9 days long, so it does get a little confusing when you're counting weekly volume.
Hmm.
But I have now 11 sets for my left arm of biceps in my 9 day period. And I have, I think, 10 or 9 sets of triceps for my left arm. And so if anything is going to work, I feel like this at least gives it a shot to see if the left arm can catch up. When I started, I put the post on Instagram, but my right arm was 17 inches and my left arm was 16.75, which isn't like a huge difference. I actually thought it was going to be bigger than that. And then I also have DEXA data from August. So this would be
Hmm.
like a month before I started the experiment. And it had